Hi, everybody. I'm Amy from the Everyday Woo and Cultivating Silence, and I am hopping on today before the video for a brief disclaimer. My guest today is Kristen Hustead, who I believe is a powerful healer. And I wanted to share that in sitting with her in the interview, I believe that I had a bit of a healing effect. And for me personally, that was challenging. I think it was so for a couple of reasons. Number one, anybody who has ever healed from anything knows that healing can be challenging. It is a process. If you've ever healed from an illness or an injury, you know that healing takes time and it can be challenging. And it was so for me for a couple of days after the interview. Also, I will share that I am currently, and I was at the time, doing a bit of a deep dive into my own content, as I do from time to time. And so I believe for that reason, the healing kind of accelerated that work that I was doing, stirred things up a bit, and that was challenging. Now, I have shared this video with a skilled and trusted friend, and together we have concluded that we believe that if you watch this video, first of all, you may or you may not feel this effect or have this effect. But if you do, we believe that the healing effect will meet you exactly where you are. I do think that's what happened for me, and I think the challenges that I had afterwards were because of what I'm working on. So I just wanted to share that with people so that you can discern, use your intuition, and choose wisely whether or not now is the right time for you to view this content. It may not be the time for you to go into a potential healing effect. But either way, if you watch and or if you don't, I want to say thank you for being interested in the Everyday Woo. And if you do watch, I'll see you in a couple of seconds. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Everyday Woo, the place where we talk about the magical side of life with everyday people. I'm Amy from Cultivating Silence, and my guest today is Kristen Hustead. Kristen is becoming well known on YouTube for her wisdom messages that she receives while in deep meditation. She receives these messages from Sophia, who is known as the feminine essence of the Holy Spirit. She also receives messages from members of and other members of the angelic realms. And so we might talk a bit about that today. But Kristen is also an amazing healer. She's been working in private practice with individuals for the past 9 years. And I would say, she'll correct me if I get this wrong, but I would say she's combining fascial stretching with guided meditation and Reiki, along with her skills as a medical intuitive and grief and trauma counselor to facilitate incredible healings in individuals, healings and miracles. And so I really hope we'll talk a bit about that today. And as well, she is an author, and in her beautifully written book, I hope you can see that, Mending the Broken Soul, she shares her journey of healing through a dark night of the soul, which I've heard her say that it was that journey that then catapulted her into the work that she's doing today. And from doing a bit of a deep dive into her life and work, I would say Kristen is a beautiful example and modeling of a life of courage, trust, and faith. And I think we really need that right now. Sorry. And finally, as I often say in these introductions, I believe as human beings, we are capable of having extraordinary, outside of the box, sometimes scary, quote unquote, woo experiences. And with Kristen here, I would add to that we are also capable of opening up into extraordinary skills and abilities. And it is the intention of this show to help to normalize what those skills and abilities and what those experiences might be. So, with all that being said, join me, everyone, in welcoming Kristen to the show. Hi, Kristen. How are
Thank,
you today?
Hi, Amy. Thank you. You had me crying too. I feel like I'm
Sorry.
overwhelmed by that. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction and taking the time to paint a full picture. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. You deserve it. Your work deserves it. And I'm really happy that you're here to share it with as many people as possible.
Thank you.
So, I often start with a simple question of asking people, what is your definition of the woo? And you can answer that if you want. But really, today with you, it came to me to start by asking you, what is your definition of healing?
Mm. That's so interesting that you're asking me because I was just thinking that the other day because I do use that word a lot.
Yeah.
And but to me, that doesn't mean like one and done. That means a journey of starting to let go of the things that no longer serve you. And I think we're always healing. I believe that we're always collecting things that do not serve our highest good, whether it's emotions or events that we attach ourselves to that bring us down and bring us into a lesser density field of like who we are. And so healing to me means understanding what you're holding on to that no longer serves you. And as we do that over and over again, then that is where I've seen amazing miracles, like you said. And yet I feel the miracle is truly coming into who you are, like truly understanding who you are as a soul living on this earth, to here to explore and to be all you can with all that beautiful love that is truly who you are. And so that to me is healing. It's a journey. And the people who do get the one and dones, I mean, yay, that's so exciting, but they still have to do the work of releasing those stories and the misalignments that they have in their life.
So that's fantastic, beautiful answer. And I definitely want you to go in and talk about the actual work that you do, but the way you just framed that as you were saying, we're kind of collecting stuff that then, in my words, it needs to be released. So can you speak a little bit to that? Like, I'll just say, I'll share. I think this happens personally in our family of origin as well as collectively. So I don't know. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, no, you're right on so many of those. What we have learned right up to age 7, we are hardwired with our little computer brain, and that's research of who we think we are and the role that we play. And then, of course, we go to school and society and people around us, and then the influences that we have. And pretty soon we start to take on that as who we are, but that is none of who we are. And so I always think that this is just or what I've been told is is a big game of forgetfulness. And our journey is to come back home and to truly understand that anything outside of your true love nature is not who you are. And that's a big ask for a lot of people, have been very wounded, right? They've been very wounded. And that's my question I'm always asking when I'm getting my um, messages from Sophia, like you said, the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, is when I say, well, how do people who've been so wounded, how do they make it through? And because that has become so much a part of their reality and identity. And it really is one belief at a time is what I keep hearing. And that's what I did. One belief at a time. Does this serve me? And through these messages that I've been delivering on YouTube, they talk about that. Ask one belief at a time. Does this align for my highest good? And things like that. So and then they say, as we walk through fear, if we walk through that misalignment of who we think we are and who society thinks we are, we break through, and we break through to another thing. And every time we break through, you come to like another level, almost like leveling up. Like, oh, here I am, and now you get to discover that. And then it's like, oh, a little more. Here I am, a little more, and so forth is the journey of healing and of releasing the past.
That's amazing. Also, I totally agree. I think shifting our beliefs is one of the most healing things that we can do to allow ourselves to change. It really does. Part of healing is literally just shifting your perspective. And that's what you're talking about.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Yeah, and it takes just we've all been there. We've been like to the depths of the depths, and all we do is have a simple shift, and all of a sudden it's like nothing changed, but our perception, and that's what they call a dimensional shift. That's like shifting a dimension or a different timeline, or however people want to look at it. You're coming up out of that dense darkness that you had been aligning to, and you're rising up, and all of a sudden you just see at a different perspective, and it brings you hope. And then it's one moment at a time that then solidifies that reality for you. I think some neuroscientists that I forget his name now, that I was following for a while, but said it's every 90 seconds that we claim who we are or where we want to be. Then pretty soon, after like a minute and a half, or well, I guess that's 90 seconds, after a little while, you will then believe that, and you'll be in a different space. But we can drop down in one thought, right? And then we know now, oh, if I change my perspective, honor my feelings, honor my emotions, because we never want to shove those down, we come back up again. I'm like, oh, here I am again. And it's just this learning of going up and down. So it's what I've experienced in my work, and the messages I'm getting.
So what you were just talking about, correct me here, is literally reprogramming your subconscious through
Yes,
repetition and a new perspective, a new belief, a new thought, which brings about a new feeling, and then staying on that positive upward spiral instead of being on that negative, quote unquote, negative downward spiral.
exactly. And I do think that we must not forget the feelings, because the feelings they keep us trapped. They're here to teach us, and if we shove them down, that's what I did for a living. I mean, I'd be working on someone with an illness or a disease, and then I would see, oh my gosh, you as a child, you grew up in an alcoholic home, or you were abused, or hey, let's take a moment to release those vibrations, because they really were in the cells, because I read the body. So I'm like, it really is a vibration in your cell, that got stuck in there through the fascial tissue. And that's a whole nother cool segue we can go on, or not. But
Yeah.
so right. So as we just give ourselves compassion. So Dr. Howard Schubner's book, Unlearn Your Pain. And he talked about, we're hardwired neurologically, we're hardwired to that pain, that story, whatever it is, and our body will house a physical injury or illness, because our body is our subconscious mind. So you're correct, Amy, on all the above, is that not only is our body telling us, hey, this is what you're holding on to that's making you ill, because we're not supposed to be compressed, we're supposed to be open and flowing. And so let's look at that, but also let's look at the compassion for that little boy, little girl, or the time that you were, some of my clients have been homeless, or they've been abandoned, or anything like that. Putting your hand on your heart and having compassion, even in the neuroscience research that I've done, that alone helps give us that avenue to come up and say, hey, I'm pretty brave. I'm a pretty amazing person. Now I want to go upward. And then like you said, you create that positive trajectory upward, dealing with the emotions as much as you need to. And there's a lot of techniques on that as well. So there's a lot of help on there for everyone out there on how to navigate these tricky emotions, but then call in what you do want.
I'm so glad you're talking about this because I'm actually a holistic psychotherapist.
Yeah.
And so I've been on some of these interviews. These interviews almost always come around to love. And that's kind of what you're talking about as well. And we'll probably go into that as well. But I kind of preach the message of we have to feel our feelings, and especially unfortunately the challenging ones, because of exactly what you're talking about. So I would love for you to talk a little bit more about the fascia, and you can weave it into how you do your work. I'd love for you to share all of that. There's so much to talk about, but wherever you want to take this, that would be great.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so when I first started in the fascia work, and I just was actually just bringing something. I was a fitness director at a very high-end uh, resort, and I was bringing something new. I started to work on people, and just simply to help them release physical pain. and I started to see them cry, and things started to happen, and I started to get messages as well. Like I started to read their bodies, and I was like, holy cow. So I started to put all this together, and I realized after seeing so many people release emotion through this fascia work, that this fascia holds memory, and this fascia is the structure of our body, but it also is the internet highway of our body. And when it's closed, because it's the most sensitive tissue in the body, and it compresses, then we're not flowing correctly, and then those molecules of emotion, which Dr. Candace Pert's work has discovered, that when we harbor a pain or an emotion that is too much for our psyche to handle, then our body says, hey, I'll take that. And so these actual neuropeptides go into our body. And then if our body is stressed because the fascia tissue is tight, then those neuropeptides start to build up. And so think of it as energy. If you have a rock or something in your engine and you're trying to drive 100 miles down the road, but that rock is keeping your engine from flowing, it's the same as these molecules of emotion and the fascia tissue being tight. It's compressing your body. So therefore, since it is the most sensitive tissue, it will not release until you feel safe. And as the work you do, that people need to feel safe in order to release. So my work, it's just started to evolve more and more, as I just was open to, like, okay, so now I'm reading the body and I'm seeing these emotions. And then someone suggested I get Reiki certified. And I was like, okay, at this point, I'm all in, because my mom was a Reiki practitioner, and I used to make fun of her because I'm like, oh, mom, that's so silly. But now I went to go get Reiki certified. And of course, she's like, you have the gift. I want to do it for free. So she trained me for free as I helped release her frozen shoulder. So here goes my life, and here goes my story. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Your mom
No.
didn't train you. Somebody else trained you, correct? It almost sounded
Yes.
like your mom was training you. So I just want to
Oh,
clarify that.
thank you for interrupting me. My mom was a Reiki practitioner.
Mhm.
She passed away. And I used to joke to her, like, that's just so woo-woo, right? That's just so woo-woo.
That's right.
And then later, as I was working on people, one of my clients said, you would be wise to get Reiki certified. Thank you. I can go on my little stories. And she said, I have someone to train you. And I had been getting that message. So I went to Brenda, who trained me, and she had a frozen shoulder. So she said, hey,
Great.
I want to train you for free because I see you have a gift. And my shoulder, I can't get my shoulder released. So we worked together, and it was another way just to see everything come together. So as I started to work on people, I started to realize, like, I would work on someone, and if they were still harboring the same story, let's say someone had a rotator cuff injury, and the body told me that their husband was really sad and depressed. And this stress of having a depressed person in their life was keeping their shoulder frozen, for instance, and then they ended up developing an injury.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't just work on the frozen shoulder because there was more work to be done with the husband. So then a lot of times then I would start to work on their spouses as well, and help them to heal the whole family unit. So with that being said, I would start to see an injury had more to it. A lot of dementia people had a lot of repressed time in their life where they couldn't handle what was going on. And so therefore, I started to work on not only releasing the body, but also working on compassion and kindness. I started to play 432 hertz music while I worked on people so their body relaxed more. I started to do heart coherence breathing because I knew the research behind that breathing helped the body to come into the parasympathetic nervous system state, which is rest, digest, and heal. And there's, again, Amy, I could go on and on, but there was so many avenues. And then I got grief and trauma counsel certified because I wanted to help people walk through this. So it started to just all come together, this divine healing, along with the physical body, along with emotions, along with, actually, I used to do rehab with people too, but then it became like, how many hours can we be here together? Because I'm a personal trainer and a Pilates instructor and all that stuff. So therefore I kept looking at the whole picture of the body.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we can't just do one or the other. You can't just I don't think you can just do the energetic work without really doing the emotional work, which I guess could be energetic, but it's everything. It's who we are. We're body, mind, and spirit. So
Okay.
hopefully that wasn't too long and
No, it
convoluted.
was not. No, you share beautiful stories, and easy to follow and understand. That's one of the reasons I'm so happy that you're here sharing all of this. So, as you were sharing all of that, it came back to me. I thought this during some of the interviews that I was watching you do. You know, I I think you are again an example of something that doesn't happen very often. Like what you just described to me sounds like, you're moving along, you're opening up, you have a synchronicity, and you recognize, oh, well, that's important too. And here's the part that's different between you and most people: you go and do it. You go and get the training. And then you add that to your toolbox. And then you're working with that. And then you're moving along and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Well, we need this too. And then you go and do it. And so now you have this. I truly think the way that you conduct, and I'd love for you to share the flow of a session. Maybe you can give an example
Yeah.
from the book,
Yes.
maybe.
Okay.
But the
Right.
the flow of a session, the way that you have put all of these skills together
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
so impactful. Starting with,
Hmm.
I totally agree with you, the client, the human being who comes to you feeling safe and relaxed
Right.
and grounded, and then they open up. So starting with the moment
Yes.
that they walk in the door, to you put all of these things together. Now who's talking a lot and telling a long story? Me.
Okay.
So, but
I love it.
you put all of these things together, layer upon layer, and now I need this, and now I need this, and I think you now have a really beautiful method, which I think you're going to start teaching people,
Yes.
that is extremely effective. So I don't know. I just said a lot. Take that wherever you want as
I
well.
love it. No, I'm thinking of everything you're saying. And again, you do say things very, very fluidly as well. So I will start with, and you probably have read this part in my book where was a wound. I went through a wounded dark time, and
Yeah.
I sat in silence, and I was like, I need to know who I am, and I'm going to sit here until I figure out who I am. And I only want to hear from our creator. I'm like, I only want to hear from one source here. And I got my messages, and the messages started to come loud and clear. You are being called to go through this dark time in order to help other people with what they have gone through, and it has been so impactful. I can't judge anyone, nor would I ever want to, because I have been through so many
Yeah.
experiences as well, and it just gives me compassion for every beautiful soul who goes through anything. So it started with that, and then I heard you'll be laying hands on people. I was like, no, because I come from a very conservative family, for instance, and not my family, but the in-laws, they are so beautiful, so wonderful, so kind, but I didn't want to be looked as like a weirdo, and just it scared me. So, okay, so as I crossed that bridge, I was like, okay, I'm all in. I'm going to start laying hands on people. I'm just going to do the work. I'm just going to be a conduit, like a vacuum cleaner. I'm going to plug in, and I'm going to plug into I'm going to let the energy run. And so I just really just like, okay, I'm just a conduit. I really just took it like, this is just, I'm just going to deliver. I'm just going to deliver. So with that being said, as I started to walk into my truth, I don't think I've had one client over thousands of clients
Mm.
ever not want to know the woo woo part. They want to know. They want to know who they are. And so, okay, so before they come, in my meditation and prayer, I clear myself out because I can't put my hands on someone and have my junk go into them, because so I take all that time to clear Kristen, and so I've gotten really good at that. And then I would take and I would just ask for the highest good of that person. So then I'd lift that person up. So every single client that has ever come to me, I am asking for their highest good. And this is not a religion. This is like who they are as a soul, right?
Yeah.
And I just go, okay, for their highest good, and for our creator, God, source, universe, higher power. Again, like, I respect everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Then they come in. And so what I'll start to get, Amy, is before they come, I'll start to get intuitive messages about what they're going through. So already I know before they walk in my office what's going on. Then they walk in my office. And for years, actually, I still did this up until December. I would just say, please don't tell me anything about you emotionally. I want you to know what your body is housing. And I tell them all about the fascia tissue. I tell them all about the science. And then I told them all about this Reiki, which I said is this higher wisdom coming in. And I go, I'm going to lead you on a guided meditation. And I want you out of your thinking brain because we are the ones that get in our own way. So they're like, okay, and I go, and all you have to do is relax, and I'd always say that. So I really do feel like I have that way about me that's like, hey, let's just see what happens. So let's take, for instance, the young woman who came to me. Well, I'm not going to do that one. Let me see. Let's take the young man who came to me, and I didn't know he was suicidal, and he's in my book.
Yeah.
And his mom it was a counselor who referred him to me. And so, because the counselor and nobody at the hospitals, no one could do anything for him because he was so uh, distraught. He wanted to be up in the heavens, and I did not know why. And I didn't even know he was suicidal because I'm like, don't tell me anything. So he comes into my office. Well, actually, he comes onto the property, and I just see what a beautiful boy. He was 14. So we went out and fed the alpacas, and he got all comfortable. And then we went into my office, and I just listened to my intuition, and we didn't need to go do any dark, soul searching things with this boy. All I wanted him to do was breathe in love for himself and exhale anything that stressed him out. And he was doing such a great time. He was just breathing in, breathing out. And I'm stretching his body, getting that fascial tissue to release, because once that tissue releases, then I'll get intuitive messages. And so I started to see, his father died. Okay. But I didn't want to sit there and go, oh, your father died. I was listening for higher guidance on this one. And I'm like, anything that makes you sad, let's let it go. Let's let it go. So he was just breathing, and I was stretching, and I was getting messages, and I knew where this was going. So then I started in on the Reiki, and I was at the top of his head. And for some reason, the wind speaks a lot in my office when I'm working on people. And the wind, the spirit of, all that is, was like around my office. And I was like, this is amazing. And I'm like, oh, he's going to get a good healing. And so I'm just at his head, and I started going through his body. I think I was midway, put my hands on his stomach, and the wind started whipping. And then my sign on my door was banging. And then we have a barn right by us. And when people are getting big healings, I mean, it never happens. Like I listen, something metal is like starts pounding. And I was like, okay, so he's going to get a good healing. So I start to learn the different nuances of just the space I'm in. And I'm like, this beautiful healing's coming in. And then I was down at his feet. And then the third wind whipped around. And literally, Amy, I don't know how to describe it, but it came through the window. I know I have thin windows, but I felt it come through me and into him. And I was like, I got chills, and I was like, oh my gosh, he is getting some amazing healing. And I had led him up into that guided meditation, and he was just relaxed. He was checked out. Like, I don't know where he was. He was just it. He was in, I just see what I'll see like divine, like beings walking around. So I know he's getting like beautiful messages.
Yeah.
And I see these bodies of light. And sometimes I'll hear the conversation, but this time I just knew it was his father. And I thought, okay, let's just let them do their thing. So afterwards, I don't say to him anything, but when I brought him back down into his body, I always, put a little blessing on him, and everyone loves a blessing. Like sometimes I'm like, who am I? I'm like, waving this sage stick around people, just putting blessings of it, but people love it. And I love it. I mean, I would want a blessing on me. So I sage the room, and I sage him and just put a beautiful blessing of love and just renewal on him. And he sits up, and he's 14. He goes, well, my dad came to visit. And I said, oh, well, what did he say? He said, it's not my time to go to heaven. I need to stay here and be brave. He goes, it's not my time. And I said, that is beautiful. And he goes, he told me to stay here and take care of my mom, and I have a lot to live for. And I was like, wow. So I just try to act like it's normal, right? Because it is. In my work, it is. I
Yeah.
said, that's so amazing. I'm so happy for you. I said, I felt that too. So
Yeah.
we put on our shoes, and he came over, and his mom was sitting in our waiting room across the yard. And I opened the door, and she looked like she'd seen a ghost.
Maybe she did.
I go, what's up? She goes, did you hear that wind? And I go, tell me. She goes, well, the first wind came and it whipped around so fiercely. And she goes, this squirrel came down the tree. She goes, I feel crazy telling you. She goes, but the squirrel looked at me like it was trying to tell me a message. I go, yeah. She goes, it felt like the house was going to, be blown apart. And I go, yeah. And she goes, then did you feel the second wind? I go, just tell me. She goes, the second wind came and it blew around me in the office, in the waiting room. She goes, and something like went on my shoulders. And she goes, and I just felt I had a presence around me. She goes, I know this sounds crazy. I go, no, no, keep going. She goes, the third wind whipped so hard that it opened up the door to the waiting room. Now, the door opens this way and this way. So for the wind to come in and open it this way, and it wasn't like they both opened one way. They had to open like this.
Right.
She goes, both the doors open and the wind blew around me and it came down over me and I got the message from my ex-husband
Oh.
that we are going to be okay. And that I called him Jared in my book. I said that Jared is going to be okay. And then I said, well, thank you for sharing. I said, it sounds like Jared has something to tell you. And he goes, Mom, Dad came and visited me. And he said, it's not my time to leave. And I'm going to stay. Now, I want to paint the picture. This boy had been in and out of hospitals trying to commit suicide, no counselors, nothing worked for him. This divine way of being, this coming and asking for a higher wisdom, this beautiful message to come in came in so many ways for him. So he came to, so anyways, I was crying, he was crying, and my dog was hugging him, and we're all like in this kumbaya thing.
Yeah.
He came 2 more times,
Okay.
and every time he was so cute. He'd sit up, and he goes, well, now my grandpa came, and my grandpa said, but grandpa came with the his dog was really cute and all this. And every time this young boy had something beautiful to say, when I was writing my book that summer, which was last year or 2 years ago, um, she called me and
Oh.
said, thank you for
Oh.
doing something for Jared that no one was able, you helped bring my son back. And so now he's thriving and he's in aviation school, I think, or
Oh,
something like that, mechanical school. So Amy, those are the stories that go on and
yeah.
on and on in my office. And all I do is go, my husband always goes, Kristen, I don't get it. I go, do you think I get it? I go, do you think I get it? I'm just going to stand in this place. And you are right. I must be one freaking brave person because
You
I've
are.
had a lot of people look at me and think you're different. But then when they hear these stories or they experience them themselves,
Yeah.
then they get to walk in the wonder and mystery of life. And that is how I get so brave
Yeah.
because I see the miracles,
Because say that last part again.
because I've seen the miracles. So I get to see it. So I'm going to be brave because I need to tell people this is available. And that is right. You're right. That is why I'm going to. So December, I heard loud and clear over the year, you must stop doing one-on-ones and teach people how to do this. So I'm trying to gather myself. It's only been a couple months trying to get my whole business shifted. And I really just feel so called to do this. Yeah.
It's incredible. Sorry for my frog. Uh,
No, no, it's fine.
there's so many things that I want to pick up on from what you just said. First of all,
Mhm.
the fact that you can bring a 14-year-old boy out of a place of wanting to kill himself when the cultural norms of healing could not do that. Like,
Right.
that's not evidence enough, people, everybody. I
Right.
love you all, but like the woo, and I use that word with a sense of humor, but
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
the spaces that we don't really understand yet, you are just evidence, uh, one piece of evidence after another, after another, after another, line them up and look at them and take it in and realize this is very real. This is
Mhm.
where we are, I believe.
Mhm.
We are
Yeah.
all heading. And so I would say again, I don't know if I said this while we were taping or earlier, but thank you for
Oh,
your courage to
thank
stand up and be this bridge because I know that it hasn't been easy for you.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Thank you for saying that. I can feel that. Yeah. I'm still like, I can get really emotional about it because it takes every ounce of myself leaving the Kristen that I thought I was and just saying, hey, God, source, creator, universe, I am here. Use me. And sometimes it doesn't look pretty on the earthly realm. And I just keep standing in the truth of who I know I am. And I do so much to clear a space, and so much reverence to what I do. It's not even funny. I mean, I'm so very much about creating that space so that people can walk in and have the best for them. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So thank you.
So now I want to ask, and you tell me when you need us to wrap up, because I think I could talk to you all day long. Um,
We can do more. Let's do
okay.
more.
Oh, well, that would be lovely too. So, that makes me want to ask you. So you're of service in deep ways, and you do so much work to clear yourself, to be of service for others. So I'm sure that you do, but I think this is important for all of us to know how to do that for ourselves, because a lot of us are wounded healers, or are people who give and give and give and forget to take care of ourselves. So how do you take care of yourself? And then maybe we'll talk a little bit about why it was necessary for you to take care of yourself.
Yes, yes, I would love that. Okay, so when I first started, so I was the fitness director at this beautiful resort called the Sanctuary. And when I first started just working just fascia, it was the massage therapist that came
Mhm.
to me and said, "Hey, Kristen, how are you protecting yourself?" I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know. They're like, "Oh my gosh." They all shared with each other, me, what they do. And so one of them said she pretends like she is like a helix, or what is that called? Like a spinning, almost like a spinning wheel. And anything that comes in when she works on a client just spins right out. So
Uh-huh.
they started to share. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. And I still didn't take it that seriously until I was working on a client that I had my hands on. He wanted Reiki that day, and he had never had Reiki before.
Mhm.
And I had my hands on his stomach, and I felt this like an almost like an earthquake was going to come out of him.
Wow.
And I was like, oh boy, and I didn't know, we were just in silence. I was just asking for his highest good. And he just, you could feel he just didn't want to let go.
Oh,
So I said, hey, this isn't what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to force this. I said, we can do it another time. Let's move on. And so I kind of wanted to move on. He goes, no, Kristen, I really feel like I need to release this. Can we try again? So I recentered myself, put my hands on his stomach, and oh my gosh, Amy, I don't even know what came out of him, but it was a lifetime of trauma. And it went up me, and it like hit me, like, I'm not kidding you. Like, it was so real. And he was wailing and crying, and all my hair was standing on edge because this energy that was coming out of him as he's wailing. And I was just holding there, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "What's happening?" I go, "You're releasing."
yeah.
And so once he was done, he felt great.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
He
like,
felt great. How did you feel?
I have never in my life felt such denseness on me. It was like all over me. And he kept saying that he felt like he was a lost soul. It was really interesting. I feel lost. Okay, so all this came out. He went on his way, and I didn't know what to do. And so I went and I saged the house. And my husband came home, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I will never do this again. No way. This is bigger than me. And he like grabbed me by the shoulders. And at this time, we were kind of in that really dark time. Like, we were trying to figure ourselves out because I was changing so much and getting these messages. So he just said, looked me straight in the eyes. He goes, "You've been given a gift. And what is inside you is so much more powerful than anything outside. So I want you to dust yourself off." And he saged the house with me. And and then what I did after that, it was a lot. There was other stuff that came. I had to keep releasing this energy that was on. It was just really weird. But I finally did, and with lots of support. And so then I signed up for classes, and I learned how to um, energetically protect myself. Like, I wasn't going to mess with this anymore. And I have had some really dark issues come out of people that could have scared the daylights out of me, but I just stand in this truth of who I am. And so yeah, so what I do, and I teach this in my intuitive mastery class, which I just got the level 1 online ready to go.
Great.
I'll do them online personally, but I also have um,
Yeah.
a whole online PowerPoint, everything ready to go for people. So that I have done. Okay, so what I do is I place the light of the highest good, right? Of however that means to people, but the light of our creator in every corner of the room and the ceiling. And then I connect them and I connect them and then I put the light in the middle. And because there is such a thing as sacred geometry, our world is created from geometric shapes and numbers, right? And this is another big concept.
Yes.
But I connect the bottom lights into a right side up pyramid and the top lights into an upside down, and the two and the two pyramids meet. Then I shoot a beam of light to the heavens and the earth, and then I ask for the highest good to come in for that person. Okay, I ask for angels, guides. Again, I'll just know what each person needs, and I just ask. And then that's say it's called creating a sacred space. So
Yeah.
you're creating a beautiful sacred space for them. So for me personally, what I do before I work on anyone is I take my attention to the my base of my spine, and I take a light and I grow it down into the center of the earth. And I like a big oak tree, and I spread the light out and I bring it back up to my spine so I'm sturdy like an oak tree. Then I pretend
Sure.
active prayer, right? Active meditation. I see this light of unconditional love wash away what no longer serves me after I see a client or before I see a client. So I see this energetic shower of unconditional love. And then I see it go all the way up to the light. And then I ask for this divine unconditional love to come around me for protection and guidance. I do that like nobody's business. So I think I told you earlier, I treat it so reverently. I treat the ethereal world, because I am dealing with that energetic world,
Yeah.
very, very sacred, because I know that would be like going out in New York City, naked.
Yeah.
You don't want to go out in New York City naked because you're going to get looked at and bombarded and maybe hit by a car or whatever.
Yeah.
You must protect yourself in a very, very not in a fearful way, but like, hey, I'm going to put on my
Yeah.
little light and I'm going to go in there. I'm going to help that person. And then whatever that person needs to deal with, with what work you do, you have to release that, because that is not my journey. And I
Yeah.
can't get sick. And we can talk about the other, yeah. So the work I'm doing online now with these wisdom messages actually did knock me off my socks for a
Yeah.
while. And so we can talk about that if you want, but I just realize now I must treat that the same way. It's not my burden to carry, right? And I am here as a delivery system to help. So,
That's incredible. I have a couple things, and then I'd love for you to go into that other
right.
part. Um,
Okay.
so first of all, I'm so glad that you talked in depth and actually shared how you kind of protect yourself.
Mhm.
Because I don't, in the interviews that I've done so far, we haven't touched upon that at all. And I think it is very necessary. I think that from working with people, this is where you started in this part of what we're talking about. People come in with a lot of pain and trauma, and when that gets released, it's going to go somewhere.
Yeah, it does.
And
Yes, it does.
well, if you believe that energy is not destroyed, but it's transformed and moves somewhere, it's going to go somewhere. So you don't want it to come into you. And this is a really, I think, important for all of us to just be aware of as we're walking through our daily lives. And two other things. Well, first of all, that again just tells everybody how brave you are, because you said you had a pretty big experience with, I'll just say, some crap. And
Mhm.
that is not fun. And it's very
Mhm.
scary. And what do you do
Mhm.
with it? And here
Mhm.
you are continuing on. That takes courage. But the biggest thing that lit up for me as you were sharing that is that your husband, who
Mhm.
doesn't even understand this
Mhm.
stuff, comes to you and says, you have a gift. What
Mhm.
is inside you is more powerful than anything
Mhm.
else.
Mhm.
This to me is what is going on here on the earth. Like, we
Mhm.
heal each other. And your husband You needed that love and support right then. And here's your husband who doesn't get it. But boy, he reflected back to you the truth of who you are when you couldn't feel it and when you got scared. That is
Mhm.
so, so beautiful.
I agree. He has been a trooper as well because he has to take the brunt of what is your wife doing? This is unusual.
Yeah,
And he does, and I just always tell him, like, we met when we were 19. I go, we must have signed up for this
yeah,
together because somehow we keep making it
yeah,
and we keep putting it together and we keep walking forward and we keep allowing for this greater wisdom to come through
yeah,
and and heal. And I don't understand it. I don't need to. I think I see a part of it, but one day we'll see in whole.
yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Partnership is not easy. And
No. Yeah.
for you to love each other through the rough spots is the most beautiful thing. That's lovely.
We're
So,
trying.
I guess I would frame this as, and you can make it as long or as short as you want. I'm happy to keep going here, but I want to honor your time.
Thank
But
you.
I'll set it up this way. So, in the very beginning, as you were talking about working with individuals, you said one of the things that they have to let go of is who society thinks you are. And then in the middle, you mentioned you come from a conservative family in your in-laws. And so I I know because of the research that I've done that you've gone through some challenging times because of some of the messages that you have been brave enough to stand up and share. So, whatever you would like to share about that journey, you can share the messages if you want. You don't have to. If you, that's fine. But I really am interested in how you have supported yourself and gotten through it all. But maybe you set it up. However you want to talk about it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for giving me that leadway because yeah, I'll see how I want to talk about it all. But I'll start with in February of 2025. I started to get these beautiful messages because again, I sit for many hours
Yeah,
in meditation and always ask for the highest good, always ask for healing, always put the light around me. Like, again, you guys probably are getting that I'm very diligent about that.
yeah,
I got this beautiful spirit. And so I see in the sixth sense. So I see things like I'll just tell you guys real quickly, like when I'm working on a client and they're doing a distant Reiki session with them, I can see them. I can see my client tried to choke himself. I can see my client was trying to drink ink. I can see that they're bulimic or whatever. The energy just tells me everything. I can see that they were wounded as a child. Like the energy will tell me anything.
yeah,
I mean, it'll whatever is needed for that person to heal. So I've been able to, I can see the breast cancer, and this is again people who are 1,000 miles away.
yeah,
So that's the beauty of what I've done. So I have had 9 years of that validation of yeah, I did try to eat drinking. Yeah, I did try to choke myself. Yeah, I did try to, do this or that.
yeah.
Um, and so I have learned to trust, this place of trust. So as I'm sitting in here and this beautiful spirit came up to me and she was shimmery,
Mm,
she felt very feminine. I said, "Who are you?" And I heard the word Holy Spirit. And I said, "No, no, I heard the words Sophia." And I said, "Well, who's Sophia?" And then I heard Holy Spirit. And I was like, "Oh, well, that's interesting." And so after the meditation, I went to the internet. This is me. And I looked up who's Sophia and feminine essence of the Holy Spirit. God within is another way to look at this beautiful spirit, and bridges heaven and earth together. So everything has a feminine and a masculine aspect to it. Everything does. So I don't know why this is more feminine to me, and it's God within. So once I knew what it meant, I was like, sure, I'll get messages from Sophia. So for about 8 months, I'm getting these messages, and I'd come in after my meditation. I'd tell my husband, "Oh my gosh, I just learned about how the nature of reality was formed, how energy is created, how we're just matter." Like I would come with these monstrous concepts. And I'm like, and I knew, Amy, that these weren't just for me, but I didn't know what to do with them. So every day I'd be writing down these massive concepts. And then sometimes I'd get, other like catastrophes would happen. And I'd be like, huh. So I would tell my clients, I'd start to show with my clients, hey, we're not in Kansas anymore. I'd always say that we're in some sort of shift. And they would trust me enough to say, I feel it too, because they had been working with me enough to open up enough to start to feel these things. So last summer, I kept hearing it is time to take these messages bigger. And I didn't know what that meant, or time to do group healings. I'm like, I don't know what you guys mean. I don't get it. So I took the summer off. I saw just a few critical clients, maybe like, 40, 50, and I didn't know what to do. And then by the end of the summer, I just went back to my one-on-one practice. Came October last year, I was in my meditation. I got the message again. You must take this to a bigger audience. I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I even tell my kids, like, you guys, I don't know what this means. And so that day, a beautiful woman came, and she actually, I'm going to get an interview with her because I need this on record. So she
Well,
came in, and we had this beautiful session. I'd never met her before. She was a friend of a friend, and so we were going through the session, and I'm reading all of her body, and she's like, how do you know? I go, because your body's telling me. And she's crying, and she's healing, and quite often I'd have my hands on her, and she's like, you're going to think this is weird. And I go, what? She goes, that's not you holding me. I go, what? She goes, I'm not even religious. That feels like God's putting his hands on me. And I go, well, I've had that so many times because I'm just asking to be a conduit. So she was like, kind of in the space of what is happening. And I said, hey, we don't need to understand. You're getting some great healing. Let's keep going. And she's like, no, I'm all in. But I've never felt so much love. I go, yes, this energy comes in with divine love. And she goes, I feel so safe. So at the end, after everything, after 2 hours, she sits up and she starts crying. And she goes, I just got to thank you. And I go, no, it's okay. I do this for a living. I hear that quite often. I do see divine eyes quite often. Now, what I would say what divine eyes look like is these beautiful blue eyes, but it's just this beautiful, clear essence of who the person is. And quite often, my clients, I'll go, hey, you've got the divine eyes. And even my son has seen that on his friends who've gotten treatments from me. So I've got like lots of validation. When she sat up, it was different, Amy. She looked at me and she goes, I have to tell you, thank you for the work you're doing. I have to tell you. And I looked at her and I go, holy cow. I go, either I'm talking to God or Jesus. I'm not quite sure. I go, but you got to go look at your eyes in the mirror. So she got up, she looked at her eyes, and her eyes are normally brown, and they were this blue with these flashlights. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I felt like I could have, if I looked at her, Amy, I felt like I was looking at infinity. And I don't even know how to describe that, but I've never seen it in earthly form. And so I go, whoa. I go, come over here. And I go, let's take a deep breath. I go, I think you have a message for me. And because again, I work in this realm, and I get messages from angels and past loved ones and all that beautiful stuff. And from God, and the whole 9 yards. Anything that will help someone heal. So I said, please take a deep breath. And she goes, you must take this work to a larger scale. You are on the right track. Please take this work to a larger scale. And please trust this guidance. And I am like, looking at her still, I couldn't look at her because it was so divine. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, I guess maybe, back in those sacred writings that, the Bible and probably other writings, they talk about how this sacredness will come through and you can't look at someone. I couldn't look at her, but I said, let me feel into this energy. So I closed my eyes and I go, Sophia. I go, it's Sophia. And she goes, oh my gosh, Sophia. She goes, I have been hearing that name. My coworker has been talking about that name all week long, and that Sophia kept coming to me. She goes, and now you're telling me I'm giving you a message from Sophia? And I go, welcome to my world. I go, this is my world. I go, I don't understand it myself. She goes, this is bizarre. So I said, thank you, Sophia. And then her eyes turned brown. And I go, now go look at your eyes. And she goes, I go, and here's the funny part. And her name, I said her name. I've got a client in 15 minutes who I just need to work on their back. I go, and I got to pull myself together. So I gave her a journal and I go out on the swing and journal this, and I'll call you later. So that really, really, Amy, was why I got up on YouTube. because I had a divine freaking intervention. I got kicked in the pants. So the next day I went in, I looked over my journals and I go, these are sacred writings. They are not just for me. So I got into my deep meditation and I heard loud and clear for 2 weeks, do not drink alcohol, do not just only eat from the earth, do not watch any media and stay away from any kind of news or anything. We have a message to deliver to you on December 1st and take December 3rd and 4th off. So I was like, oh, but now when I've gotten these messages before, I mean, I've had a lot of crazy, amazing things happen. I get delivered something very sacred in my past. So I do the work. December 1st comes, I go into my meditation, I'm writing all this great stuff, and all of a sudden my pen starts to write about an earth rift. And it was detailed and it was writing. And I was like, holy cow. And so when I'm so connected, they'll stop. They're like, we need to stop. You need to take a deep breath. They're talking to me.
Yeah.
You are the delivery system. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I took a deep breath and then I recentered myself and then they went on. And I said, hey, at the end, I got to go in again tomorrow morning because I go in at 4 a.m. to get clarity.
Yeah.
Next morning, I asked for the same thing. Same exact message came. And I was like, this is bizarre. I've never in my entire life gotten a date, nor do I believe in predictions at all because we create our reality one moment at a time and we create it both individually and collectively. And we create it with our alignment in co-creation. So I was like, this goes against everything that I've ever believed in or was told. So the next day, boom, same thing. Then I got loud and clear, you must deliver that message. Well, that was December 3rd when they told me to take the time off. I had an intuitive mastery class that I was supposed to get online with, and I had to call everyone and say, I am so overwhelmed right now with this message. I said, I need to cancel. We'll get back next week. So I get up on YouTube with a humble heart because I am so freaking, I don't know, like I told you, I'd probably walk in New York City naked if God told me to. So I got up on YouTube and I delivered this message with a very humble heart and a very much you guys need to could go within, but I can't with my track record and what I've been doing for a living for the last 9 years, I can't consciously not deliver this, especially after my client delivered it in this holy way.
Yeah.
I'm talking holy.
Yeah.
So now I go through and I deliver this message, and then boom, all these messages keep coming through about how we're going through change. And we are going from the Kali Yuga stage into the stage of enlightenment, or what they would call the age of Aquarius, which is going to be an age of where we come back into remembrance who we are. So here's this date of February 18th. I'll go ahead and say it, along with these beautiful messages of how we create our reality. And it's up to us to choose how we're going to use this wisdom to create our reality. So they came together, a message, a date of something, a big change that would change the world and help us to move together into unity consciousness. So it actually came with like, this might be a way that you guys come together and stop the hate and get rid of all the darkness. But you guys have a choice. So it was these two messages up until February 1st. And I just was telling you before I got on, I started to look over all the February messages. February 1st, they said, now you guys drop the date and start to claim who you want. Yeah. Claim what you want. Claim faith. Claim that you guys create your reality. Claim they called it the God code within. Claim who you are. Like every message came with this power. And it still would say, you have the choice. They kept saying you have the choice. You can have this earth rift because Mother Earth needs to release all this yuckiness that's been going on, or you can change and you guys can start loving each other. So they kept delivering like, hey, it's your choice. It was a choice point. I was following this geophysicist, Stephen Burns. He was saying the same thing. There was something big coming on. There were earth rattle. He kept saying something big's coming on. And I heard he even, after I had said it on my channel, he said, I don't get this. You guys got to go in meditation and figure this out. So he even said that. And then I've heard some astrologers were saying it too. I haven't been on YouTube. I just barely to deliver my messages just to see, like, I don't even listen anymore, but just maybe I'll look at a title. So,
Yeah.
so everyone was saying like choice point. And I'm like, okay, so there's a choice point. Then February 18th was right before the eclipse. Now, I'm not even an astrologer, like, or even follow too much, but before the eclipse, the 18th, so 17th, the eclipse, the 18th, the night, and then the 19th or 20th, I don't forget what the planetary alignments were, planetary alignments. And then the 18th was also what I heard found later was Ash Wednesday and Ramadan, which are 4 billion people asking for renewal and hope. Okay, so I didn't know all this till February 18th came. Nothing that we thought happened. February 19th came. I woke up and I'm getting these messages about Ash Wednesday and Ramadan. And again, I do not believe in coincidences. These were coming to me. Then I was getting these messages of we made a dimensional shift. We made a shift. We chose not to go through that way of learning. So all paths are learning. And so it was fascinating because I sobbed. I sobbed for, you say I'm brave, but I sobbed so hard. I've never sobbed
Brave
so hard
people
for
sob. Brave,
what?
brave people sob.
Okay, well, I sobbed.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, and I sobbed and I thanked the pain and I thanked the whatever it was that what it was just delivered. And I thanked it. And then I realized that we have power. All these messages keep saying that we have the power to, through love and gratitude, to change the world. And now the messages, Amy, they're coming through are like, now you guys, Mother Earth still is absorbing a lot of this yuckiness and she needs to release. But what I've been told is she will release in a more gentle way if we release in a gentle way, if we start to stop judging each other, because she harbors us, she houses us on the land. So she absorbs all that crap that we put out. So here we are walking in this place. So the messages are coming with beauty and grace. You guys, now the choice is yours. Choose faith or fear. Now stop judging each other. But not everyone will be awake, and then that's okay. So we're in very, very unusual times, and those who can read energy or are feeling this shift can see it. But those who don't, it's okay. All you need to do is be a good person and love on people, right? And just love on people because that's what changes reality. Love. Love does everything. Love. So that's the story that I went through. And we were supposed to have an interview before, and I just couldn't even, you ask how I was holding myself together by the grace of the higher wisdom of our creator. Have I still now am holding myself together because when I got this message, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to trust you guys ever again after this. Like if I go out on the limb
Yeah.
for help, like I did it for humanity because I got this divine message. I've heard people say she heard wrong, she heard from the darkness. Hey, how about we are that powerful
That's right.
that God, source creator, gave us free will. What do you guys want out of your life? This is what's coming through. What do you want? Do
Yeah.
you want do you want tragedy or do you want love? We get to decide because we came here with free will. So there's my soapbox and there's my story, and I'm still putting myself together and claiming who I am. And yeah, I'm back on YouTube and I guess I am maybe stupid or brave, I don't know which one,
Maybe both.
but maybe both. And the last message that came a couple days ago was quantum healing. It was fabulous. It was fabulous, but it's not for everyone. And even in through all these messages, and I'll stop after this and let you go, but all these messages kept saying not everyone will understand how the body heals and how we have been designed to heal. And that's okay because what's coming are med beds and, for better lack of words, frequency machines and or frequency. Now, my friend just sent me, they're doing research on frequency 40 hertz or something like that
Yeah.
on elder people who are actually reversing their age. And I can find that, Amy, and send it to you. And then also, they keep talking about these primordial waters that are going to come up and bring fresh water. Well, another friend sent me primordial waters have been coming up, and there's a fresh spring of over 20,000-year-old water coming up. Now, that water holds memory and holds wisdom. So there's stuff happening on a level that we don't realize. But I'll let you go now. So your
No,
turn.
no, this is wonderful. I agree. I have a BCX. Have you ever heard of a BCX machine?
Well, I haven't heard of a BCX, but my husband just ordered some frequency machine. But what is yours?
It's a kind of like a Rife frequency machine. It's called a BCX, and but it works in similar ways. There's lots of them. I use it often. Yeah, frequency healing. Yeah, let's, you know,
Well, we are energy.
we are, and
We're
you
we are.
basically are a frequency human being. You're a frequency
Yeah,
machine with your Reiki and everything that you're doing. You're just a human version of it, which
right.
I think is much better than using a machine. But if you don't have access, it's good to have the machine. Yeah.
I agree. And it's so cute that you say that because I know that, yeah, I signed up for that, I guess. And we all have it, but I guess I get to do it for a living. Um, I just did a conference in LA and I just did a group
Yeah.
conference and they were like, what was that energy was coming through? And I go, that's the energy we all have, but I'm here to just hold that space for you guys until you discover it yourself. And they were coming up to my table and they're like, what was that? I go, it's what is within us. Yeah.
I'm really glad to talk to you today because I think for all the reasons that we've gone through, but I think that feeling our feelings and feeling the challenging stuff that is stuck within us is very important. That is healing. And we have been in a culture, we've been in the Kali Yuga. It has been very dense, as you say, very compressed. It's compressed in our bodies. And so we have that work to do to heal, and you're helping people do it. Hopefully I'm helping in my own way to help people do it. But then you shared here at the end that they're telling you Mother Earth can now release in a gentle way. So if we become gentle, Mother Earth can also become gentle. That I had some questions about some of the videos that I was watching because I kept thinking, well, this is all very positive, but what about the density? What about the pain? What about? And so in talking with you today, you tell the whole story. And correct me if I'm wrong, but both are important. We do need to release the density. However, we're in a time period, and this is what they're sharing with you. We're in a time period where we don't have to keep doing it that way. So
Right.
be gentle. I think we still have a lot of stuff to release, but we can do it in an easier, more gentle, loving way. Does that make sense?
It's perfect. And how I think I said on one video, how I was shown it is, let's say Mother Earth is our friend. Well, she is.
Yeah.
And we're by her and we say, please tell me how you feel. And I support you and I love you. And please, thank you so much for all you do for us. And you let her tell you. And oh boy, she talks to me, because everything has consciousness. And I am tired of housing all this. And thank you so much for providing for us. And so let's say that's a friend, and it is, but let's say it's a real friend. Okay, so that friend gets to release with sorrow and sadness and talking and maybe the crying, and you hold them while they cry and they're releasing and you're like, it's okay, I'm here for you. I believe in you. I love you. You got this. You cry, you release as much as you need to. Okay, it's gentler, but it's still releasing. It's still getting a healing. Okay, now let's say we're around our friend or Mother Earth and we say, hey, buck up. I don't want to hear a thing. You just keep providing for us. I don't care. You got to keep taking my stuff. Like you got to keep taking all this energy and you just got to figure it out because I don't want you to disrupt my life. My life is really important on earth and I don't want you to disrupt my life. And that's or your friend. Like don't show your emotion because that's going to disrupt me and I don't like when you're sad.
Yeah.
That friend, Mother Earth, is going to fricking blow a lid because energy always needs to be balanced. Okay, so this is what I'm getting. Now we've got a lot of darkness on the earth right now. And these messages that have been coming through are every time we focus on all the darkness, the wars, the files coming out, and all that, that is just feeding that energy because it makes us feel so hopeless.
Yeah.
So then I asked in my message, like, okay, so what do we do about the injustice of humanity and show love? But they deserve that yuckiness because look what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, we support the people who have been wounded, and we don't give our energy to the yuckiness. We give it to the people for support and love. And then if you take your eyes off that stuff, that releases the power and you put it on love, then the healing comes. And then what I've been getting is love will crumble all those institutions. It will just, love does, love does. So we just need to shift. And even the yuckiness of all the yucky things that are going on, those people, those are still from our source, God creator, and they have lost their way. So even seeing them in the wholeness, healthiness, and healing is so important because we're going to send them that message. So it is very counterintuitive to our society, but this is where we're called to go.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't need to repeat it back. That was beautifully said. Wonderful place for us to end today. And I just want to thank you, Kristen, for all of your support and your love that you're sharing with everyone. And thank you for all you're doing for us. All those messages you just gave to the earth, we give them back to you as well. So thank you so much for
Thank
being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Amy. And I do have to say, you are so wonderful. Like I have this such light coming out of you. I feel so accepted and so heard. And thank you for, because what I've been through, I could even cry right now, has been really hard. And so thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. And I would love for you to come back sometime. Anytime you want to share something, come on back. And yeah, so I'll just say again, thank you for being here. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And we will see you next time on the Everyday Woo. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.